How's it going everyone, Jimmy here, and today I want to teach you guys how to properly use Ryu's guard break capabilities. Ryu gets access to guard breaks in V-Trigger 1 mode through his critical art and his fully charged fireballs. So let's get started with Ryu's critical art guard break in the corner. It really only makes sense in the corner because outside of it, Ryu has no follow-up after the guard break. So the idea is to put the opponent in block stun with any move and then cancel into the critical art for the guard break. Ryu is in a +9 state afterwards, so you have a couple of follow-up options. I recommend going for a Crouching Fierce into Shoryuken, but you can also go for his target combo. His target combo has better reach, and both combos do very similar damage because of the heavy scaling involved in guard breaks. Keep in mind you can only follow up with a sweep if you do a guard break from far away. The critical art guard break is something you will very rarely use, simply because you need to meet a lot of requirements for this to make sense. Your opponent cannot have a single bar of V gauge, otherwise they can escape the guard break through V reversal. On top of that, you only want to use your critical art if the follow-up combo actually kills, which should rarely be the case as you're not dealing a whole lot of damage. So let's move on to the much more interesting guard break setups with his V-Trigger fireballs. I'm going to show you two different setups and both of them require a crush counter sweep. The idea is to do a sweep into a V-Trigger activation, which is safe no matter what, and if you happen to get a crush counter, you go straight into the guard break setup. I will showcase both setups first, and then we'll talk about the conditions you have to meet for the setups to be safe. So here's setup 1. You start with a crush counter sweep into a V-Trigger activation, then you whiff a crouching medium punch and you go for a fully charged V-Trigger fireball. If your opponent blocks the fireball, you can walk up and follow up with a solar plexus combo. Make sure to execute this sequence without any gaps, otherwise your opponent might be able to jump out of it. I recommend practicing this setup while having the training dummy jump on wake up to make sure you're timing this properly. So let's take a look at setup number 2. Once again, you start with a crush counter sweep into a V-Trigger activation, then you do a backdash and you make a tiny step back before fully charging an EX fireball. If your opponent blocks the EX fireball, you can dash up and follow up with the solar plexus combo. As you can see, setup 2 is just a safer version of setup 1 against characters with short range special moves with invincibility. So let's talk about how to decide which setup you should be using. The amount of EX meter your opponent has will determine which setup, if any, is applicable. There are 3 different cases we need to consider: no meter, full EX meter, and at least 1 bar. In general, you can use setup 1 against the entire cast if they don't have EX meter available. The only characters that can avoid the guard break setups in this case are Akuma and Dhalsim, because they can always use their teleport to escape. If your opponent has full EX meter available, then you can't use any setup against most of the cast because most critical arts have a lot of range. There are some exceptions where you can get away with setup 2 against some of the short range critical arts in the game though. However, the most common situation you'll probably face is an opponent with 1 or 2 bars of EX meter, so here's a full breakdown of what setup is applicable against which character in case they have 1 EX bar. Balrog stands out in this list because depending on whether or not he has level 7 turnaround punch charged, he fits into different categories. It might seem highly unlikely because you need to charge tap for at least 32 seconds, but I got hit by that multiple times when attempting guard break setups, so keep that in mind. The last 2 characters I want to mention in this list are Abigail and Blanca, because even though they have tools to avoid the guard break, you can punish their response if you're ready for it. That's it for today's video guys. If you found this tutorial helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. So thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.